Hello, everyone. I'm Sarah Biller, the Executive Director of Vantage Ventures, an initiative at West Virginia University's John Chambers College of Business and Economics. And it's indeed my pleasure to join you today for a momentous moment in West Virginia's history. It certainly extends our history of not only overcoming complex civil engineering challenges, we know that to be the case if you've driven on any of our roads, but certainly where West Virginians have been at the forefront of advancing innovation in transportation. We look to Chuck Yeager and Katherine Johnson and others who have come before us, and it's my distinct pleasure again to welcome the team from Virgin Hyperloop, who we've worked closely with for the past year to come together. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. We'll spend about 20 minutes together in a fireside chat, really unpacking the story of Virgin Hyperloop, their selection process, and what comes next for West Virginia. And then we've been joined by a broader group of West Virginians who were critical in our process to partner with Virgin Hyperloop and bring this all together. So we look forward to sharing with you that story. If I may bring up the Virgin Hyperloop team and get them to introduce themselves. Let's begin with Ryan Kelly, and then we'll head to Kristen Hammer, and then Mike Schneider, who joins me in the room today. Ryan, may I ask you to introduce yourself?
Absolutely, and thank you so much, Sarah. It's been a pleasure working with you and the rest of the West Virginia team. My name is Ryan Kelly. I'm the Global Vice President of Marketing and Communications for the organization and passenger experience, which will become important for the HCC. I also sit on the senior leadership team at Virgin Hyperloop. Very excited to be here today. I'll pass it over to Kristen.
Hello, my name is Kristen Hammer. I am the Business Development Manager at Virgin Hyperloop. And so I've been part of the team that has led the effort to find this location of the certification center. Our team also works on our commercial projects. So in addition to what we're doing with the certification center, working on the actual corridors and routes that we'll build across the country. My background is in engineering, so I kind of lead the technical side of the business piece of things. And happy to be here and really excited to participate in this event after such an exciting announcement this morning.
Mike?
Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Schneider. I'm Vice President for Project Development at Virgin Hyperloop and overall charge of the development of the Hyperloop Certification Center, which for the last year we have been working together, of course, with our colleagues in West Virginia and around the country, developing the process and implementing the process by which we have come to select West Virginia as our partner.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure to have you all here today with us. And Ryan, I'm going to go back to you. You started this, you kicked us off with your introduction of yourself. And I just really want to talk to you and get you to help us unpack the story of Virgin Hyperloop, the company and its origins. We think we're, really right with you in this tremendous vision that the company has to transform transportation, beginning in West Virginia, but your story is one of a global effort as well. Could you talk to us a little bit about the company?
Absolutely. So Virgin Hyperloop, like all good tech companies, started in a garage in Los Angeles more than 5 years ago now. I've been at the company for 4+ years now. I know Kristen has been even closer to 5, I think, Kristen. So we're old dogs. You measure Hyperloop years, you multiply by 7. And the reason why I say that is in the almost 6 years that Virgin Hyperloop has been present, we've gone from Hyperloop Technologies to Hyperloop One to Virgin Hyperloop when Sir Richard Branson came on board. And I would say that the momentum that we have had from that garage has been incredible and has been exponential in nature. And so for us, the first thing that we did as soon as possible was show the world that Hyperloop is real, that it's not just a CG thing or in a white paper, but the technology actually exists and can work. And so in 2017, we showed at our DevLoop site, located an hour outside of Las Vegas, that Hyperloop actually exists. And so in that low pressure environment, we shot off the first pod. It went 240 miles per hour in about 500 meters. And then at that point, we really saw, a really exciting trajectory from there. And so at that point, we had been in parallel talking to countries and states around the United States, countries like India, a bunch of European countries as well, and talked about, potentially what this vision could mean for them, in the same way that flight affected the 20th century, that rail affected the 19th century, and what are we actually going to do in the 21st century? And we had our digital revolution, and really Hyperloop combines that digital revolution with that mass infrastructure and puts it together in an efficient and effective way to really represent the values of what we need for 21st century transportation. And so you'll see projects around the world and press from us about the India project, for example, between Mumbai and Pune, that can move up to 200 million people, passengers per year, and take about 300 million pounds of carbon out of the air. And in a place like India, which is having climate problems and pollution problems and mobility problems and congestion problems, this ties directly to what we're doing at the HCC. And so all of these projects are looking for, and we're talking to all of these governments as well, not only about projects, but about certification and regulatory. And that's really what we're discussing here today. And so we've been working with the European Commission at DG Move about regulatory. We've been working, as Secretary Chow, kicked us off today, which was huge, and is with us on figuring out regulatory within the Net Council, and actually saying that Hyperloop is a new category of transportation and making us eligible for federal funding. And so choosing of the West Virginia Hyperloop Certification Center is huge. And it's the first step in bringing projects along into the United States and elsewhere. So we are incredibly excited to be talking about that here today.
Ryan, thank you so much. We too think it's huge. I think those are the right words. And we're just so thrilled to be able to think about West Virginia as a partner to Virgin Hyperloop. We have long thought we were uniquely positioned to do great things with you, from our talent base to our geographic location. And again, I mentioned our history of really digging in on complex challenges. Although I'll add to that, though, this was not an easy selection process. I think it's one that you approach with rigor, with discipline, and with tremendous knowledge of the global implications your success will have in reaching regulatory approval. And Mike, I really wanted you to kind of dive in, because you really mastered this selection process. Can you share with us what went on and your calculus behind it in more detail?
Of course, I'd be happy to. Thank you. About a year ago, we sent short letters to all 50 governors of all 50 states, letting them know that Virgin Hyperloop was in the process of seeking a partner to be a co-developer, co-owner, and co-operator of the Hyperloop Certification Center program. We were not sure what kind of response we would get. We knew we were not Amazon HQ2 with 50 or 100,000 jobs and looking for gigantic tax breaks, but we were looking for a partner who was willing to work with us, be creative, develop some commitments and some incentives for us to join them as a partner. We got actually 21 proposals from 19 states, more than we had expected, many of them quite innovative, many of them representing some interesting commitments and some interesting approaches for partnership. We went through a fairly rigorous process, starting with those 21 proposals. We brought them down to a short list of about 9. And about that time, COVID-19 pandemic hit. And we actually asked all of the proposers whether they wanted to take a halt, whether they wanted to put the process on hold because of the crisis. And interestingly, and not surprisingly, I suppose, virtually all of them, with 1 or 2 exceptions, said, this is a program that will help us with our economy, with a stimulation, with a resurgence of jobs and a resurgence of the economy that was hit so hard by the pandemic. So we continued with a short list of 7 states and brought that down around April or May of this year to our final 4, and looked very carefully, very significant due diligence with those 4 states that were competing. We looked at a number of criteria that revolved around the corridor, the location they were proposing for the Hyperloop Certification Center. What were its attributes physically? How well was it located with respect to the kind of topography that we wanted, and to even to population centers and potential employment locations. We also then looked at the composition of the teams. Who were the people who were being proposed to work with us? What was their leadership? What kind of skills and expertise did they bring? Did the team include appropriate research and academic institutions? Was it indeed going to be a significant public-private partnership, which is what we all sought? Thirdly, we looked at funding and financing proposals that were given to us by the states in the way of advance commitments to see how the proposals for supporting and sharing with us in the capital and operating costs of the facilities were being proposed by the various states. And finally, we looked at the political arrangements, the representation, the support and commitment by elected officials at the state and local level. And these were all very important criteria, and I will say that the process of selecting West Virginia came down to the fact that the state actually scored highly in all 4 of those categories, and in particular, the commitment and support of the elected officials, from Governor Justice to his entire cabinet, to the senators and congressional delegation of the state. And it was actually overwhelming to us to see the level of interest, the level of commitment that was being represented. And not surprisingly, because the state is in the process of advancing its economy, moving into a technology-based economy from an extraction economy. And to the state of West Virginia, this would be actually a tremendous boon to their economy, to their growth, to their movement toward higher technology. So it became a juxtaposition between what we were seeking as a partner and what the state was seeking as a partner. And our selection was made and ratified by our board 2 weeks ago, unanimously. And for all of the right reasons, we are here on the ground in West Virginia, looking forward to moving from the site selection process to the real work, which is actually developing the Hyperloop Certification Center and moving along our timeline toward certification of our technology for passenger and freight use by 2025. So it's going to be an excellent partnership. It became evident to us very clearly so during the process that this partnership was going to flourish, and our partners in the public and governmental sector and our partners on the private side, the developers with whom we're going to be working, are all, I would say, almost as excited as we are to be here in West Virginia and to start this project.
Thank you for that. I will say you made a comment that I would be remiss if I didn't stress. This has been a commitment from all West Virginians to your success and our shared success here, and it's been exciting to see a project like this, as you call it, really begin to take shape. And as we've talked about today, the real work is now to begin. So thank you for that. And I want to turn to Kristen Hammer, though, because I think it's a really important moment for us to pick up on Mike's theme and, of course, Ryan's, where he mentioned that, of course, prior to your work in the Nevada desert, this might have just been a dream. It had never, Hyperloop had not existed before, and it's those complexities that we now will advance at the Certification Center, and you will advance contemplating how to build it, how to operate and control the Hyperloop, what it means to human health, and other dynamic questions that are to be answered on behalf of the regulators. And Kristen, may I bring it to you to kind of unpack for us what's going to be built and the vision you see both locally for West Virginia, and then perhaps if you wanted, and each of you wanted to comment about it globally. But Kristen, may I ask you to start?
Sure, thanks, Sarah. I can start with a little bit of an overview of the difference between what we've done in Nevada and what we're doing at the Certification Center in West Virginia. So in Nevada, really the goal was to show that Hyperloop technology is real and that it exists and that it works. That facility is a rather short length track. It's a little bare bones in the facility standpoint. It's as straight and as flat as we could build it because that's the best way to test something new. With the Certification Center, we'll have some curves. We'll be able to show banking on our vehicle and build out a little bit more of actually a lot more of the commercial version of the technology. So really showing not just a sample of the technology working and showing that Hyperloop exists, but really showing what the commercial experience can be like. So we'll have the track in a longer facility than in Nevada, around 6 miles. We'll have a final assembly facility to bring our full vehicle together. We will have a facility for testing sub-assemblies and large assemblies so that we can do individual tests before things go out onto that large track. We'll have a training facility, which I'm pretty excited about, and I think is a pretty exciting thing locally. Nominally, the training facility is meant to train the future operators and maintainers of Hyperloop systems around the country and around the world. But there's a really exciting opportunity to work with the region and work with the state, with community colleges and universities to really build out that training capability. And we don't yet know what we'll do with that facility or how wide we can reach with it, but there's a lot of potential for collaboration. I'm pretty passionate about STEM education and about really making STEM education available to as many people as we can. And I think there's a really exciting opportunity for that. And then tying off of that, we'll have a visitor center where we can bring in the general public to a space that has more of an education element as well and allows people to kind of experience this from the outside rather than the more locked down facilities that will have some of our more proprietary pieces in testing. This is all with the goal of taking the technology from proof of concept to actually something that people can use to move every day and to go from city to city, to commute to their job from home, or a number of other opportunities that they'd like to travel for. And the way that we'll do that is really working with regulators at the local, state, federal level. The Net Council that Secretary Chow created is our kind of guidance mechanism. The Net Council was created to address things like Hyperloop, like drones, like autonomous vehicles that don't have a clear regulatory framework and don't fit cleanly into existing standards. And just this year, they decided that they released a guidance document for Hyperloop regulation and have noted in that document that the Federal Rail Administration will be the regulatory body for Hyperloop. So this is a huge step and really timed well. We'll be able to pull in the FRA to work with us on the Certification Center. So it's a really important kind of bridge between what we've done on the proof of concept side and getting us to the actual commercial viability of the system.
Kristen, thank you so much for those that description, and you almost can visualize it in your mind as a state that's been long crisscrossed by train tracks. The next thing, of course, is the Hyperloop. And so what a vision, but it has taken a large team, I think, to get us here. And Kristen, you shared some of the key elements from our capabilities and vocational training to innovation amongst our academic communities, the private business sector, as well as the commitment that Mike mentioned for our public sector partners. And we thought we'd bring them into the conversation now. I know we have a number on the phone that will help also address some of the media questions we're going to take in a minute. If we might bring them forward and ask them to spend 1 minute introducing themselves.
All right, let's first go to Ed Gaunch, who's the Secretary of the West Virginia Department of Commerce.
Thank you, Jordan and Sarah. Thank you so much. I am Ed Gaunch. I'm the Cabinet Secretary for Commerce for the state of West Virginia. And of course, everybody knows one of our primary roles in commerce is to attract and retain business. Today's a special day from the attraction standpoint. I'd like to begin by saying congratulations to both of the teams who were involved. The Virgin Hyperloop team have been incredible to work with. We've worked especially closely with Kristen and Mike, and incredibly bright people. And it's been more, for me personally, more than just a business relationship. We've come to know those people and really like them. And as Commerce Secretary, I would be totally remiss if I didn't thank my team members from Commerce, especially the West Virginia Development Office. Mike Graney and Jeff Vandal have been incredible to get this project moving and keep it moving. Chelsea Ruby, our in tourism, has been kind of our logistics person who's kept us on task and on time. And Sarah Biller, who's been our team leader. I want to thank her especially for her leadership skills over this period of time. There are several aspects of this project, this achievement, I think, that make it very significant. One was the collaboration, I think, at its very best among state agencies, something that many of us never thought could happen, truthfully, 3 or 4 years ago. But it is happening, and the collaboration has just been phenomenal. You'll see some of those folks on this call today from every agency of state government to higher ed, et cetera, and to include the private sector, which I think is very important. It proves to me also the second very significant thing that we can compete on a world-class level in West Virginia. And next is the transformational nature of this project. It just works perfectly. Governor Justice speaks often, as I do, about diversifying our economy, and this takes us a giant leap forward in helping us do that very thing. Truthfully, I expect many more businesses and entrepreneurs to want to be close to this enterprise. And I expect that this will be the first of many announcements that we're privileged to make in the next several months. So I'm happy to be here. It's a great day for West Virginia, great day for all of us. And thank you all.
Thank you, Secretary Gaunch. Next to Rob Alsop with West Virginia University.
Good afternoon. I'm Rob Alsop with, as Jordan indicated, with West Virginia University. I'm a vice president here at the university, and on behalf of President Gee and the university, we're thrilled to be a part of this process. I want to second what Ed said, and our orchestra conductor, who's just been fabulous, and Sarah Biller, the executive director of Vantage Ventures. And the President Gee has really had a vision for WVU of assisting our state and federal and private sector partners in working with folks like you heard today, John Chambers and others, to really change and make West Virginia a startup state, a place of innovation, and where we can dream big. And so, from a WVU standpoint and from my perspective, we really try to be enablers in making it easy and make connections so that we can help bring projects like this to become a reality. we see tremendous opportunities for our state with this partnership with Virgin Hyperloop, and are just thrilled to be here and help move things forward on a great day.
Great, thank you, Rob. Next to John Maher with Marshall University.
Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon. This is a fantastic project, and I send my personal and institutional congratulations to all of the partners here. It's been a working partnership even before the ink is dry on the MOU. I would like to talk a little bit about the scientific and technical aspects of the project, and how higher education and the higher education system in West Virginia are both excited and hopefully going to be meaningful collaborators in this. We spoke yesterday with Mike and Jay about the scientific needs of Virgin Hyperloop and their opportunities in optimization of the hyperstructure, the control systems, and the AI and machine language capabilities that are necessary to operate this fantastic array of technology are in the wheelhouses of our major universities in West Virginia. And we look forward to collaborating, particularly at Marshall, in our large-scale civil engineering testing, rail and tunnel technology, and the cyber technology that is necessary to operate. Beyond that, we've all been pretty good at being ambassadors and advocates for West Virginia. And ahead of us, there's a major recruiting and retention effort that's going to be necessary. So we look forward to working with Virgin Hyperloop on that workforce development and recruiting to convince people that this is a great place to work and a great place to live. So thank you all, and congratulations again.
Thank you, John. Next to Dr. Sarah Armstrong Tucker, the Chancellor of the West Virginia Higher Education Policy Commission.
Good afternoon. Thank you all. This is a great day to be a West Virginian, and I'm so thrilled to be part of this announcement. I echo everyone's comments before. This has been a terrific collaborative effort and a way to showcase what the state of West Virginia can really do. I was proud to show the Virgin Hyperloop group some of the innovative work of our community colleges during their trip here in February, and I'm even prouder today to see that this project has come to West Virginia. Our two-year institutions are remarkably equipped, as are our four-year institutions, to meet the needs and demands of employers. In fact, we've established partnerships with more than 700 businesses. For Virgin Hyperloop, we're going to be focused on aligning workforce training efforts with their specific needs, including manufacturing, cybersecurity, and safety. The work that they're looking to achieve in testing their technology require an all-hands-on-deck approach from all of post-secondary education. And West Virginia offers the partnerships, the workforce training, and the academic research that will be required. We are up to the challenge, and we are thrilled to be partners in this incredible development.
All right, thank you, Doctor. Next to Steve Lai, the Executive Director of the Tucker County Development Authority.
Thank you for that introduction. I am Steve Lai, the Executive Director of the Tucker County Development Authority, and it is a wonderful day to be in Tucker County and a wonderful day to be in West Virginia. The Development Authority is the economic entity for the county. We represent Parsons, Davis, Thomas, Hendricks, Hamilton, and Canaan Valley. We are governed by a 15-member volunteer board, and we work to attract businesses. And more importantly, we try to keep the folks that are here really happy. And Tucker County is really a crown jewel of West Virginia. It's a beautiful place in the world, and I think we're really excited to welcome Virgin Hyperloop. I think they're going to be a great fit to our community, and we're excited as can be.
All right, thank you, Steve. Next to Cali Taylor Dayton, the Executive Director of the Grant County Development Authority.
Thank you. I can certainly echo what Steve has just said. As a Grant County citizen, I'm super excited to welcome Virgin Hyperloop to our area. And I think, as Steve said, we serve our community and we are boots on the ground. So to be able to bring this forward to our citizens as an opportunity, not only in the job sector, but other areas, is certainly something we can be all proud of. And it's a great day to be West Virginian. So thank you.
All All right, thank you, Cali. We'll now go to questions from members of the media. The first question today is from Steve Adams with Ogden Newspapers.
Yes, this is Steve Adams of Ogden Newspapers. My question is probably more for our economic development folks at the Department of Commerce or even the county level, if anyone wants to take the question. And obviously, I understand usually with MOUs such as this, there's some things that can be revealed and not revealed. We obviously heard how and why West Virginia was picked for this a substantial project. But in regards to what we offered, can anyone talk a little bit about that? I know that we understand that the property is being donated to the WVU Foundation, and then that is how Virgin's being able to build on those 100 acres. But what more could be revealed exactly about what we offered in our RFP last year that really kind of set us apart? Thank you.
Steve, thank you for that wonderful question. Secretary Gaunch, would you like to address some of the points Steve made, and perhaps I could round up with a little bit of the information from the RFP?
Sure, I'll be happy to. Steve, it's a great, very logical question to ask. And I will, it's hard to answer truthfully at this point, not to try to evade the question, but it's still kind of a moving target. And I will, that we've basically made available every incentive that the legislature allows us to make to this project. But it's complicated because there's going to be federal involvement, state involvement, local involvement, and private involvement in terms of creating the capital necessary to do this project. And I'm told by my friends at Virgin Hyperloop that it will probably be mid-April to mid-November to late November before we can put together a package that will be anything close to final. So I would just tell you, as I did to start with, this is an incredibly important project to us, and we've made every incentive available to this project that the West Virginia legislature has allowed us to make.
All right, thank you, Steve. Next to Charles Young with WV News.
Hi, this is Charles Young with WV News. Anyone who wants to address this can hop on. I was just wondering, what assurances do we have that this will create jobs for West Virginians, both in the construction process and once the center is up and running? Thank you.
Thank you. Charles, why don't I go first to Kristen Hammer to talk about the construction and other job creation, and then we'll ask Mike and Ryan to weigh in. But Kristen, do you want to talk a little bit more about the vision for jobs and what you see in the near term and then medium term?
Of course. Yeah, so this will be between 150 and 200 full-time Virgin Hyperloop jobs. So that is obviously a gradual hiring over time as we build out the facilities. But those are people that we are aiming to hire from within the state as much as possible. Those who we're not hiring within the state, we'll be working with universities and with all the people who you've seen already on this call to really build up that talent as much as we can within the state. I think that on the construction side, we're talking thousands of jobs. And those are obviously not permanent. They're during the length of the construction. But again, we're working really hard to bring all of the contractors and as many people as we can from within the state. Obviously, we're building something pretty specialized, so we won't be able to always source everything exactly where we'd like to, but this is a major focus of ours and something that we've been working with the state on throughout the process.
Mike, anything you'd like to add on the job creation opportunities?
Sure, Sarah, thanks. Excellent question. We're in the process of determining where we will bring people from Virgin Hyperloop currently employed and where we will hire people locally and where we will work with people employed by perhaps the university or other entities. We're also looking at, for for the non-proprietary construction, that is to say, the civil engineering works, the site preparation, the elements that are not protected through our intellectual property, at working with local companies, undoubtedly to develop design build contracts for certain elements of the program, which will provide opportunities for involvement by local companies. We're not necessarily looking to bring in major national engineering or contracting companies. We would prefer to work with local West Virginia entities, and we know there are some. We've already talked to a few who can provide the impetus that we will need, where we're not looking to hire long-term, for example, civil engineering individuals, but rather to contract out during the course of our design process and construction process. So it will be a combination of the highly technical individuals who are already within the Virgin Hyperloop family, other technical people who we will work with the university community and other entities to hire. And then, of course, as Kristen said, the shorter term construction, where we will probably hire some oversight personnel, but largely work with contractors who will provide the local talent, know-how, and capability for specific engineering and construction activities.
Mike, thank you. Ryan, is there anything you might add there before we go on to the next question?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is the vision of our senior leadership team to be able to source locally, as Kristen and Mike talked about. And I think the education element is critical here. So what was mentioned from Sarah and Rob is going to be really, really important to us as we move forward, because the jobs that we're talking about run the gamut of construction to a software engineer working on control systems. And it is not our vision to take our 300 employees that are in Los Angeles and ship them to West Virginia. We don't think that's sustainable. This is a partnership. Our project is your project, and we need to work together to set up the programs so that the kids that are going to school now, even that are potentially excited about Hyperloop and hearing it for the first time, are aspiring to be those engineers that can one day work in this center. And so that's really our vision. Hopefully that's your vision as well, that when people graduate from the technical schools or West Virginia University, they want to stay and they want to be a part of this. And extrapolating that even further, I know that we had the secretary on board today talking about this as the HCC Center, and we're focusing on the United States in order to do that. But globally, this could be the global center. And that's not out of the question at this point. In places like India that don't really have the infrastructure to do this and to regulate this new technology, if we are able to get this off the ground and be successful, I think that you're going to see this center continue to grow and have sustainable growth. So creating this foundation now to start educating those in the community to look into occupations at the HCC, I think is going to be critical.
All right, thank you, Charles. Next to John Delano with KDKA TV in Pittsburgh.
Yes, hi, thank you. Good afternoon and congratulations to everybody. John Delano, KDK Television, CBS, Pittsburgh. I wanted to have you talk a little bit about the what this means for the consumer, for the transportation, the person who wants to transport this way, and cargo transportation in the years to come. Could I ask for someone to just give us a little timetable? This is a benefit not just to West Virginia, but frankly to the tri-state region and the whole of the country and the world, as I believe Ryan mentioned. Is this something, there's such a sci-fi nature to this. Is this something that's going to happen in our near-term lifetimes? Or am I going to be able to see it? Are we talking a decade from now, 2 decades from now? What exactly does this mean to the average person out there? Will I be able to go from Pittsburgh to Chicago in 41 minutes? somebody talk to me a little bit about why the average person out there should get excited about this technology when it may be years and years and years away.
John, thank you for that question. I think we all feel the excitement that you just expressed, and certainly look forward to helping answer those questions. Kristen Hammer, may I ask you to kind of take us through Don's questions and the timeline, and of course what it means to the everyday consumer like you and I?
Yeah, of course. And then I think Ryan probably can add more to what I have to say as well. So we are looking to do kind of initial groundbreaking next year, probably the second half of 2021, followed by building out the facility starting in 2022. Our goal is to have a certified technology in 2025. And so that means that while we are working on the certification, we can do parallel path work on a lot of the prep work for the commercial corridors. Ryan, do you want to add some more to that?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we weren't able to talk about in our jam-packed presentation today was all the other states that we were working with. And I love that you're from Pittsburgh. We've been talking to Pittsburgh for a really long time with the Chicago-Pittsburgh route. Ed at the Gazette is a big fan, and we've been texting back and forth. But every day that these milestones happen, it becomes less sci-fi. So what we just talked about, less than 5 years ago in 2017, we showed Hyperloop for the first time. Since then, we have projects all over the world that are excited about this. Getting the Secretary of Transportation for the United States of America to come on and kick this off is no joke. That we are categorized as the fifth mode and the newest mode of transportation, and we're regulated under the FRA. That is concrete progress. That's not us just pitching an app. This is huge infrastructure that could impact the way that we move, the air that we breathe, from minutes to hours, could really affect what kind of jobs and opportunities you take. For cargo, given the crisis that we're in right now, being able to have a secure and safe supply chain for farmers, for perishable goods, for medical supplies, all of these things are incredibly important. And so while it feels space age and 10 years feels far away, if you look at Kitty Hawk in that moment in the early 1900s to commercial jets, and when the first people actually started, first passengers jumped on planes, the gap there was decades. And we're talking within a decade. The momentum that we're seeing is unparalleled for this. And it just goes to show that we're way overdue to kind of shake the cobwebs and break out of our inertia. We are, in the United States, really ready to start leading again with transportation innovation. And we're excited about it. And hopefully the general public is too. We have quotes from every single state, if you are interested in that, giving their support to West Virginia that we have been working with. Obviously the Columbus corridor, and William Murdoch at Morpsey, who's been leading that charge, has also publicly said that, they are continuing to work in parallel to HCC to look at this Columbus, Chicago, Pittsburgh route.
So let me try to pin you down, Ryan, if I can. Are we saying, or are you saying, that I'll be able to go from Pittsburgh to Chicago via Virgin Hyperloop around 2030, 2035? Can you give me a little bit of a timetable on that?
Our goal is to have the first Hyperloop system up and running by 2030. Obviously, we have to walk before we run. I'd love to see Hyperloops everywhere. But what I will say is I've been incredibly impressed with what we've seen from the Secretary's office, from West Virginia, and from delegations around the country to say, we want to see this. And so India is the furthest along project as far as procurement goes, but I will say that really America has stepped up, and we are continuing a parallel path to look at feasibility for these routes. And I can't say for sure where that route is going to be by 2030, but we have momentum to have the first route somewhere in the world by 2030. And hopefully, selfishly, I hope it's here in America.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, John. Next to Kimberly Keggy with WSAZ TV in Huntington, West Virginia.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us today. I did want to follow up because you mentioned that this will be feasible in Tucker County for about 6 miles. And so it'll give riders an inside look on the curves instead of just a straight directional track. So talk about, you mentioned that it could be used for your daily commute. Talk about the finances. How financially feasible will this be for one person to make a single trip on for a day?
Kimberly, thank you for that question. I think, again, we might head back to Ryan for the broader context of cost and feasibility.
Sure, absolutely. As far as costing, if the question was, and sorry, it cut out a little bit, but if the question was about cost of a trip and, again, kind of going back to, who is the system for? Is it for just the ultra wealthy people? Is this going to be like a private jet and only, a certain percentage of the country can take this? The answer is absolutely no. Our vision here is mass transit. If it's not mass transit, it doesn't economically make sense. If it doesn't expand opportunities for the general public, it doesn't make any sense. So is it going to cost as much as an airplane ticket does right now? Absolutely not. We want this to be a system when we're thinking about, routes all over the United States where I can live in West Virginia and I can go work in Washington, D.C. and take that trip every day. Or I can live in West Virginia and I can go to Chicago for my dream job and live in West Virginia, or vice versa. And so those are the opportunities that don't exist now. And in order to really make the system sing, the cost has to be within a range that people can afford. One of the things about the system, not to get too technical, and because we get asked, well, if high-speed rail didn't work in the United States, why do we think this is going to work? And really, high-speed rail, even though it's considered something new, actually, that technology is from the 1970s. And so we've had, during that time period, the digital revolution, and our system itself creates efficiency through our control system that is on demand and direct to destination. And so we're able to keep costs down because we're able to really manage the system with smaller pods that enable us to understand what the demand will look like in peak and off-peak hours to keep those costs down for the consumers. Now, ticket pricing will be done, and determined by what that partnership looks like on these kind of routes, but we would expect that, we did a feasibility study in Missouri and, cost a little bit, around the same as a train ticket or even a bus ticket in certain places.
Kristen, anything to add?
I think Ryan pretty much nailed it. Is there a follow-up question at all did we cover the question?
If you could just give us maybe a ballpark range.
For the ticket prices?
Yes.
I think that the variation is real. So looking at, different corridors and different connections. For that Missouri route, we are looking on the $30 to $40 range for a ticket. So similar to gas price at the time was a good comparison. As everything kind of shifts, I think that we'll obviously adjust. But the goal of the technology, as we run feasibility studies on looking at whether connecting two cities makes sense, one of the major things we look at is how affordable can we make that connection. And if it can't be made affordable, it's not worth doing, at least early in the process. So that's something that's really important to us, that this is not a technology just available to the ultra rich. This is a transportation solution for the masses.
All right, thank you, Kimberly. Next to Lacey Pearson with the Charleston Gazette-Mail.
Good afternoon. Thanks everyone for taking the time to talk with us today. Something that you all pointed out that was an aspect for the Hyperloop coming to West Virginia was the support of elected officials and others in state and local and federal government. I can't help but note the timing of this. We're less than a month away from an election. So what I wanted to ask is, what kind of assurances can you give us if in the event, there are changes in our elected officials, on the local, state, or federal level? Or is that a factor? Thank you.
Lacey, thank you. I hate to keep going back to Ryan, but if you could, Ryan, would you share just a little bit about your commitment in the event of a transition?
No worries, Sarah. My job is marketing and communication, so expected. We have been really excited. I think it's a great question. The election is on all of our minds right now. One of the things that has been really exciting about Hyperloop is that we have bicameral and bipartisan support. So you'll notice in a lot of our press releases in the past, we have people on both sides of the aisle. And, I think Senator Capito said it best today, when something like this comes across the desk, it's not about politics, it's about people. And we are seeing that not only in the state of West Virginia, but we are seeing that at the federal level where, a decision for the DOT to do this is coming from both sides of the aisle, from, in different committees throughout the Senate and the House of Representatives. And so am I worried about that? Obviously, we have no control over, who wins the election, who wins their elections. But what I think is really exciting, and I think at a general level, both sides of the aisle both agree that investment in infrastructure is something that we can all agree on. In times of crisis, Eisenhower created the highway system and not only connected our country, which has become such a huge resource for us. Imagine what our world or the United States looks like without an interstate highway system. But that took collaboration together. And I think that potentially this is one of those moments in history, hopefully, where we can seek that kind of bipartisanship and collaboration again.
All right, thank you, Lacey. Next, we'll go to WBOY TV in Clarksburg, West Virginia, and I believe we have Larmy Sanyan with us.
Hi, thank you so much for getting to me here. I have a question for Rob Alsop from WVU, and this is in regards to how exactly will West Virginia University be participating in this Hyperloop project? What direct roles or maybe indirect roles will university be playing?
We hope to be and expect to be a meaningful collaborator and participant. One of the things that Mike and Ryan and Kristen, we've all talked about is, this is a certification center. And so ultimately we will need certification and authorization from the federal government. And so one of the things we hope to do is to help collaborate and make sure all of the state and federal partners, private sector and public sector, are all aligned in helping Virgin Hyperloop to make that case. So the first thing we'll be doing is we will be working, I think John Maher indicated it, or maybe it was President Gilbert earlier today, on a consortium that will be working to help facilitate that ultimate certification that will come forward. Additionally, we have partners that are working from really bringing the project together, and Sarah Biller and other experts at the university. And then finally, well, not finally, two other things I'll say. We do have a number of folks from our Statler College of Engineering, our Chambers College of Business and Economics, and our Rockefeller Neuroscience Institute, who we think from a research and a knowledge perspective can help to move forward with the technologies and be a good partner with Virgin Hyperloop moving forward. Additionally, we have been working with Virgin Hyperloop and with Western Pocahontas Partners, which I think was mentioned earlier today, in bringing the project together from the 800 acres that will be moving forward. And we expect the university to play a role in facilitating the actual location of the project in Tucker and Grant County. So Sarah, I don't know if I'm missing anything. I think those were the high level summaries of university participation, but I want to make sure, kick it to you to make sure I don't miss anything.
Yeah. Rob, thank you. You touched on everything, and I think that the deep commitment that the university feels to the success of Virgin Hyperloop, Rob, you've said it, and it's echoed across all the other partners on the call today. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Larmy. Next to Julia Miracle with the Pittsburgh Business Times.
Hi, thank you. This is Julia. Can someone speak to how this center and the Hyperloop will impact companies in their search for high-tech talent and access to a larger talent pool, not just in the West Virginia region, but also some of those connected regions like Pittsburgh?
Julia, we appreciate your question. We've heard talent mentioned by each of the members of the Virgin Hyperloop team. I think I'll kind of take it in order. Mike, you might want to touch on it from the professional and engineering components, and then we'll go to Kristen and Ryan for the other tech question.
Well, sure. The development of the Hyperloop Certification Center is going to be very far-reaching. I mean, we expect to focus into a number of different industries, and our supply chain, as you might imagine, in terms of components and subcomponents, is very large, and it will not all be located in West Virginia. Much of it will, but our supply chain will reach out to a number of cities in the U.S. and even internationally. So in terms of attracting talent, it is going to be focused, of course, at the Certification Center site in West Virginia, but through the university consortium that President Guy and Rob were talking about, we expect to be able to reach into communities of talent in various parts of the U.S. We also are working on the notion of how and where we locate our supply chain for optimal utilization of talent where it exists. You know, clearly in West Virginia at the site, we'll be having our final assembly and production test centers and so forth, and that will bring a lot of talent directly to West Virginia and to the center site. But that chain of expertise, and particularly research projects, I mean, we've already had a number of inquiries on how ancillary research could be undertaken as we are in the developmental process that will benefit not only Hyperloop technology, but other technologies as well. Think of what the space program did, for example, when we had our moonshot that President Kennedy announced in 1960 and was ultimately completed in 1969, and think about all of the industries that were stimulated by that. We see a similar phenomenon as this technology evolves and as research grows in various parts of the world, not only by Virgin Hyperloop, but by other companies that are interested and related. So it's a chain that will grow, and I think will touch a great number of both industrial and academic institutions as our work progresses and as our activities enlarge here in West Virginia, and particularly as we near and surpass certification and the industry grows and becomes commercialized. One can only imagine the supply chain that will be needed to both build the infrastructure, the tubes themselves, and also the technology, the pods. So it's a chain that I think will have far-reaching implications and only yet to be developed and implemented.
Mike, thank you. Kristen, any words from you, and then we'll go to Ryan for sort of the broader talent sweep.
Yeah, I'll just add quickly that, I think while we still define some of the details that will happen at the certification center outside of our base plan, we expect this to be a hub of technology. And over the first couple of years, obviously, we'll be hiring people, we'll be building specifically our technology, but we envision our supply chain building out. I mean, we envision, I remember being a young engineering graduate, and when you hear about places with exciting tech companies, you're drawn towards those. So I think there's a little bit of an intangible that comes from, us moving to a place like West Virginia and Grant and Tucker counties, and to hopefully the following of additional technical roles that build up around that. And so I'm pretty excited to see how all of that builds and grows.
And Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. I think from a global perspective, we are now looking for our partners. And so we are open for business there. Obviously, we have solidified that West Virginia will be the place for certification. But now we are looking for these partners that are going to help us build the future. And companies like Spirit Aerosystems, as an example, is a partner of ours, and they've created fuselages for Boeing for decades. So a lot of these partners can really move their skill sets into Hyperloop, and we're really excited about that. And so, if there are companies that are interested in working with us, please reach out to us at this point. Now is the time to be thinking about that. And I think what's really exciting for our partners is that they are going to set the standard for what Hyperloop looks like. And so not only is it an opportunity to build here in West Virginia, but it's also an opportunity to export that expertise all over the world. This is a burgeoning new ecosystem that we're creating, and the people on the ground floor of that are going to reap the benefits.
All right, thank you, Julia. That's all the questions we have. Sarah, I'll turn it back over to you to close out.
Jordan, thank you. And I just want to reflect for a minute on the conversation we just had about talent and the diversity of the roles that are envisioned for really driving this new form of transit. It is a role for every individual, those who work with their hands, who understand how to build and construct, all the way through to our most technically sophisticated and scientific talent. And it's not just in West Virginia, although I feel like this is really something for all West Virginians, but it is for the world, as you've heard us say, the country and then the world, but it's also for the next generation. And I think we've longed for that here in the state. And I'm so appreciative to be here at this moment with each of you. So thank you for your time today and for the incredible questions that asked and really led us to a natural outcome, which is the future looks brighter today for all of us. So thank you.